been a long day, but nowhere near as long as the days that those living in this neighborhood and through these counties have endured. Today I've been in Perry, Knott, and now Letcher County. Just devastation. Sadly, I just received an update. Our confirmed count of Kentuckians we've lost has now reached 28. And we expect that there will be more and that number will grow. But certainly what we have seen are people helping people. We just passed a house where there's a lady inside helping out whose house is totaled just down the block. It's just she already got all of her stuff out. Kentuckians are very special people that come together and help one another. And I know our state government, state representative, our president of the Senate, our transportation cabinet secretary, we're all here today to say we're going to be here for the long haul. Every day, every week, every month, and every year it takes to rebuild. We are committed to the people of Eastern Kentucky. Already, we do have cause for a little bit of hope. Number one, it looks like the weather forecast isn't going to turn out as bad. We actually have a little bit of sunshine when it was supposed to be raining. Now, we do have heat coming up later in the week, and we got to get people prepared and stabilized for that. We got a lot of people that don't have the type of housing they need right now. We have over 100 travel trailers that we will be bringing to this area in the coming days, identifying places to set them up. That'll get people in them the fastest that we have ever seen in response to a disaster. We also were very blessed last night to receive individual assistance from the president. He'd already done a disaster declaration. What this means is the people of this and 4 other counties, and more will be added, will be able to get individual assistance and dollars to help rebuild their lives. But listen, this is going to be really hard on each and every one of these families. This neighborhood we're in right now doesn't flood, but look at what's happened. This is something the likes of which we have never seen, which means we need a response that is the same. And I know that the compassion and the love of the people of Kentucky, and we hope all across the United States of America, responds with as much love as the destruction that we have seen here. Certainly working real hard to get cell service back up all across this county, which it was probably the most problematic for. Getting water and other supplies in, making sure that all the needs are met. Over at the Emergency Operations Center here, met with Judge, Emergency Management, and others to make sure we have the full list, and we're going to be in constant communication to make sure that we can reach it. I wish I could say that we'll be repaired and rebuilt in a month. We won't. It's going to take real time, but we have the commitment, and we will make it happen. I'm going to turn it over to our state representative from this area, Angie Hatton, and then we'll hear from Senate President Robert Stivers.
Thank you, Governor.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone, for being here. Welcome to Whitesburg. This is normally a really beautiful city, and it's absolutely filled with beautiful people, as you can tell. Thank you, Governor, for all that you've done, for being in constant communication with us, and thank you to our road crews, our utility crews, everyone that's working around the clock to make sure this city gets back to normal. Thank you, President Stivers, for coming down to your second home. His in-laws live here, so we see a lot of President Stivers here in Letcher County, and he's done a whole lot to help us. He's called in tons of his resources that he has access to and sent us water, and thank you, sir. We appreciate that so much. This is a town full of the best people that you'll ever meet. There aren't better people anywhere. My family and I spent all day on Thursday when we woke up to what looked like Armageddon in our little town that doesn't normally flood, so that no one has flood insurance here because we don't usually flood. We get a lot of flash flood warnings because we're in the mountains, but we don't tend to flood. A flash flood warning might mean that you have some water in your basement. But we wake up and we see neighbors on their roofs. We have no cell phone signal, no Wi-Fi signal. And within a quarter mile, I can't get anywhere because there's just water completely covering both sides of the road. My family and I, and along with a roving band of citizens who included a mechanic, some coal miners, a bunch of teenagers, some women, a doctor, and a lawyer, and anybody else who would join in, who had a kayak or a jet ski or a fishing boat. Eventually pontoon boats were driving through this neighborhood, and there are pictures of pontoon boats swimming up, like going up to these windows and rescuing people out of upper story windows right here where we're standing. But we didn't have training, we didn't have rescue equipment, and rescuers couldn't get to us. We have a state police commander who lived just down the road, whose mother-in-law was potentially missing, who was calling in every resource he had, and they couldn't get to us because everything was blocked off. So we just rescued ourselves all day long. We were pulling neighbors off of roofs, and as fast as we would pull them off of roofs or out of windows and they'd swim to safety, they would turn directly around and try to rescue their neighbors as hard as they could. I saw people that we pulled off the roof in a jet ski, the family one by one, at the distribution center the next day, collecting donations and handing them back out to people who are homeless, who lost everything they had and came out with the clothes on their back and their children, and that's it. Don't have a toothbrush, don't have a home, don't even have a car to sleep in. We're up at the donation center volunteering today. So for every house that you see destroyed, there is a tragic, heartbreaking story that would bring anybody to tears. To hear of families trying to rescue one another, deciding who goes first in the rescue boat in Little Whitesburg, where I live, and then for every one of those houses where there's a tragic, heartbreaking story, there is a story of a hero who came to rescue their neighbors. And I could go on all day and tell you all the stories of people in fishing boats rescuing a neighbor in a wheelchair through rushing water. And this whole place, I had no idea I would lived in a whole community of heroes. But we did know that Eastern Kentucky is full of amazing people, that it's an amazing place to live, and I promise that come hell or high water, it will be again.
Governor, appreciate you coming here. And Angie, I am not the state senator for Letcher County. My wife is here. My father-in-law and mother-in-law are here. And it was bad in Clay County, but it's isolated. It wasn't like it was here in Jenkins or Neon or Blackie or any of the other places. And the governor's right about what will be shown. We're in assessment mode, but what we have seen, the contacts and relationships, reached out to Angie to say what do y'all need up there, because ours was isolated. But the phone calls, the text messages from California, Texas, Tennessee, Washington State, and Washington, D.C., reaching out to talk about bedding, toiletries, monies. And it's been just an amazing silver lining to a dark cloud to see how people have responded and stepped up on a circumstance. And I'm going to go back to my connections here. When my father-in-law has lived here for 44 years in the same house and has never seen a drop of water in it, and this time, 44 years later, it floods it, this is something he has never seen, and he's 88 years old. That's how devastating this is, and the impact it's had on Letcher County and about 4 or 5 other counties countywide, in my hometown in Clay County, in an isolated area. But to the governor's credit, Angie's credit, I want to thank them, the cabinet secretaries, the EMS, Secretary Gray. I can say this for the area. The state highway workers have gone above and beyond, and I don't know that many of them had much sleep. They've been out working on 988 inloaders and trucks and everything else, but to an extremely tough situation, there has been an amazing response. And that we have already had discussions, conference call with the governor yesterday. Members of the legislature are talking about what we need to do, what we did out in West Kentucky to respond to that. But now we're in the time of assessment and healing, and then we'll be in the time of rebuilding.
I have to say,
our community. You know, we're not ones to ever ask for much. And I don't know that I've ever prayed so hard before in my life. I've lost my husband, and I prayed a lot for that. But when I saw my community in the shape that they were in, and hearing about people having to be rescued in the manners that they were, that's the hardest I've ever prayed in my life. And like I said, we're independent and we help each other out. And as you can see, we have neighbors helping neighbors. And when we go through anything, we never go through anything alone. So when it came time to have to reach out to other counties, other cities, other mayors, the governor, and people just nationwide, we knew that we were in trouble. But each person that I've contacted for help, they have been right there for us, and some I didn't even have to call. They called me first, and I couldn't thank them more. We've had counties reaching out to us. Our city has lost everything. Our equipment, dumpsters. I mean, I was standing on a hill watching Main Street turn into a raging river with everything that we had. I watched dumpsters flow down the river, things that I never dreamed that I would ever see. And it's miraculous to see how people have rallied even in the last couple of days. But we want to thank everybody who has reached out to us and offered help. Harlan County, Prestonsburg, you name it. They're going through situations themselves, and they still offered to help us, and we could not do it without them, because a lot of our officers, city and county-wide, they have lost their homes as well. So when we needed help, they were right here for us, and I just want to thank everybody for that. And then the people that work for me, my water department, who would not have anybody going without water. We may have had a few, but day 2 to day 3, we will be back to 100% of people in this city having water. And that's the kind of team that I have, and I could not thank them enough. I know they don't get paid enough, and I wish I could. I wish we could afford to pay them what they really deserve, because that would just be wonderful for them, because I don't know what I would do without them. My street department, who has helped come out and help remove things from homes, use loaned equipment to help move things out of the road, move debris. It takes a village, and I'm on year 1 year and 1 month that I've been in my position, and this has been a true challenge. But the politics goes out the window when you are dealing with a situation like this. I'm a citizen just like everybody else. I'm out here to help. Whatever we can do for one another, because it's a family, it's a community effort. And thank you to everybody, and thank you to Governor Beshear for being here for us today and for the, I'm sure, years to come. And thank you all.
For those outside the area or the state, this is what we call a mountain mayor. Tough as nails, right now covered in mud, but full of love and compassion for her people, for our people. You are doing a great job.
Thank you.
And let me just say, on behalf of myself as governor, and I know our Senate President Robert Stivers and Representative Angie Hatton, we're going to rebuild every single part of your city.
Thank you.
Every part. So, all right, we'll open it up to questions if you have any.
Now, you said that the number went up today.
Yeah.
Are you able to talk about that at all?
Crystal, do you have the breakdown? Yeah. There you are. So earlier today, we were at 26. Sadly, we've been able to confirm 2 more fatalities. I believe that they are in not, but I'll read you the full list. So these are 28 Kentuckians. And the number keeps growing. 2 in Clay, 15 in Knott County, 4 of them children. And it says minors, they are children. The oldest one is in 2nd grade. I just passed and got out of the location that they're home and that they were swept away in. 2 in Letcher, 3 in Perry, and 6 in Breathitt. And we will have more. We know.
Governor, I have a question as well, but before I ask it, Mayor, I just want to paraphrase Representative Hutton. This is still a beautiful city.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Governor, I know you've addressed throughout the day anyone who does not have flood insurance and resources they have available. In the meantime, what do these people need to be doing when it comes to cataloging their things, cataloging any of the belongings they have?
Well, the first thing that folks need to do is not give up. Now, I don't know that we're ever going to be able to make people fully whole, but we're going to do our best to be there over the coming months and years. Listen, they need to file their claim with their insurer. And if their insurer is going to deny them, that will ultimately push them forward in the FEMA process. Now, this county and 4 others has already been qualified for individual assistance, and we've been promised that we will have FEMA folks on the ground here in the coming days. They'll be walking around neighborhoods like this with tablets so that they can help do some of the work that oftentimes falls on the people. We will have a set place that people can go to talk one-on-one with them, because navigating the online portal can be difficult, and we don't want answering one question wrong when you don't know the context to keep you from ultimately getting help. I know we'll be having conversations with the General Assembly, especially in how we help our cities and our towns and our utilities. I mean, replacing just the water infrastructure alone, if they were on their own, would raise people's rates that have been through hell. And we can't allow that to happen. So just like in the West, I know we want to be there for those in the East. We had really good legislation that helped us do some and continue to do some really good things there. So don't lose hope. Keep pushing through. Hug your kids.
A lot of people were putting their belongings out on the sidewalk to be picked up by the trash. Is there something they need to do prior to that?
Well, at first, I understand why they're getting it out. Mold is a big issue. Everybody's trying to save their structure. And I want you to know the folks you're seeing in each one of these homes, most of them live in other homes that are either already completed, and by that I mean getting everything out, or they're willing to wait to help their neighbor. That is really special. These are special people. I like to think as Kentuckians, we're special people. We'll be working on the debris removal process. Counties, emergency management, already working on the contracting in some areas. We've been through this about 7 months ago and have learned a lot of lessons on it, especially because the FEMA reimbursement comes months, if not years, afterwards. And we cannot allow a city or a county to bear the type of financial distress that that would cause. And so we're going to be there for you to make sure that's not the case.
Governor, at least 4 schools in Letcher County was affected by the flooding. What are you hearing from the school officials, and especially as we're getting so close to the date when school was supposed to start?
What I'm seeing are amazing educators that are at every single center to help people. That's who they are. The schools become the beacon of light in the darkness. They become the place that people come to, where we get power and water to first, where we distribute clothes and other necessities, where kids who've been through something they shouldn't have to go through can get a hug from their teacher, the person that they trust. We're going to have to make sure that we repair these facilities, both here in Letcher and in Knott. A lot of schools hit really hard, and we're going to have to work really quickly to both get some back up on their feet and find some alternative locations. There are going to be some schools that we probably can't use this school year, but we are committed to those students to making sure that we get them in a classroom. We do not let them fall behind. And, you know, we ought to provide extra wraparound services for them, right? Mental health services. It's already really hard to be a kid in the era of social media and all the rest, and then to go through this. So I think our most solemn duty is to our children and to our seniors. We also have a nursing home that in a couple of counties we got to get people back into. Now it's safe. We're going to be working on both. All right. Thank you all very much.
So that was the latest update there from Governor Beshear. Unfortunately, the death toll has gone up due to the flooding in eastern Kentucky. That number right now is at 28.